Hi everyone, welcome back to Brookdale Farm. Today we're going to be doing a bit more work on our John Shearer Mark II air seeder box. So there's a whole bundle more stuff that needs to come off from underneath here before we can start working out what we're going to need and how much we need to cut it out of here. Now this is all badly rusted. I know I've got to cut this out. Most of the rollers and stuff under here are still easily available, which I'm very glad about because I was a bit worried they were going to be very hard to get. The first thing we need to do is take these seeding cups out. So if we look up underneath here, the seeding rollers are just up here for the seed and fertiliser. They drop it into this funnel here. There's an air blast that comes from the outside on the other side through here, and this then goes down to the seeder bar. So we need to take all of these out. The first thing we need to do, which I've already done, is there is a pipe on the back, on the outside, on the other side of the seed box here, and I've already removed them. Next we're going to take out these 3 Tech screws here, and then there's almost enough room for this to slide out. So there's this collar here which sort of holds everything together. Under the collar there is a seal, which is a little bit awkward to get out. I'll show you that in a minute. But so much rust in this now that it's pretty much going to just fall apart. But that is the seeding cup. So the metering rollers sit up here in either side. Seed and fertiliser drop down there. Air blast through here that takes it out back to the seeder. That's the seal there, and obviously most of these things are going to be replaced. This is actually a new one that I put in last year or the year before, so I've replaced a bundle of these bits already. So I'm going to go through and strip out the rest of these now, and then we can have a look at what everything looks like underneath. Okay, now that we've got these plastic cups out from the bottom of the seeder, you can see how badly they wear. So there's a hole right through here that the previous owner has put a bundle of tape around, and they wear really badly on this step here. Now unfortunately this step here is also where it comes out of the seed box, and this is where your pipe down to your seeder goes on. So that is right up hard against the steel sheeting, and it's very, very hard to do anything once you get holes in there. This one's also worn up the top here till it's paper thin. So these are well and truly worn out. The previous owners dodged them back up. These were all covered in Celastic. I've changed a bundle of them. This is what the new ones look like. No hole there, no hole there. Much thicker up there, so we'll be putting new ones all the way through this now that we've got it this far apart. Okay, the next thing we want to do, these are the 2 shafts that drive through the box and drive all the seed rollers. We've got these 2 bearings here which support the end of the shaft. This steel plate here is connected by these outside 2 bolts to the frame, so we've already undone them. Next we want to be able to get the bearing assembly off. Now they're pretty loose on the shaft, these bearings. This one particularly I suspect is actually more or less seized up, and the shaft has been turning inside it. So I'm going to start by undoing this bolt, and hopefully we can draw this bearing assembly off fairly easily because it's so loose on the shaft. Yeah, so that bearing in there is actually fairly badly worn. It should have a pin through it here, and the pin has broken. And to bring you up closer, you can see that the shaft here has quite a step in it. So we'll probably have to build the shaft up there, but we'll see what happens when we get the rest of it apart. This one feels like it actually still has the pin in it, so it's not just going to come apart quite that easily. So we'll have to drive the pin out in the back here. But yeah, this first bearing here is seized solid. Probably it seized up, then it broke the pin, and then it's just been wearing on that shaft ever since. So obviously we're going to put new bearings all the way through this while we're going through this process. Don't leave you a lot of room to get into here to knock these pins out. And the steel pin is frozen in the aluminium shaft, which doesn't help either. Turn it round and see if we can knock it the other way. Okay, we're just going to leave that pin soaking for a little bit, and we'll take some other things off while we're hoping that pin will free up. Now, there's a whole bundle of grease points along here that grease the bearings in underneath that the shafts run in. So the next thing we want to do is take out all of these grease nipples and the flexible hose in behind here. And just put the grease nipple back in so that we don't lose it and we don't get any dirt in there. The next thing that we want to start to get off are these levers here. So we've got two levers here on either side. We've got two up here as well. These are the gate adjustments for the rollers underneath. So if you look down here, a little bit hard to see, there's a whole bundle of notches here. When you turn this lever a quarter of a turn, this little peg comes out. You should be able to slide this lever in and out. And what it does, it works on this crank down here and moves these bits in and out against the feed rollers. And this changes the gap that you have under there and allows more or less seed to come out. Now these are well seized up, and I've never been able to get them to move in the time that I've had the machine. So we're going to start by undoing these bolts here and getting this bracket a little bit loose. And then we're just going to put some penetrating oil around here and down in here and let it soak for a bit so that we can try and get all of this mechanism out. Everything here is quite badly corroded after 60 years of fertiliser and stuff like that. Fertiliser is incredibly corrosive. Now we're not actually going to be able to get this bracket off or to move even that much until we can start to get these to move. Now these pieces in here that have the peg to notch into the locking spots there does have an Allen key on it so that you can slide it on this shaft. That's your adjustment to get everything to line up the same. Those Allen keys aren't likely to come out easily at all. In fact, they're pretty much rusted away. So we're just going to have to work away at all of this rust until we can get things to move. if we can't get things to move, we will cut it out and start again from there. Now that we've got the bearing assembly off the end here, we've got two grease lines that go in here into these two bearings that we've got to undo. Next we've got to undo these 4 bolts on here, and to get the nuts on the other side we go in under here. They're quite difficult to see. There's one in there, one right up the top there, in behind everything, and then 2 more on this side as well. So I am going to try and get them undone next. Now I always thought these were bearings in here, but it actually turns out that they are a rubber seal. So I've got this rubber disc bit with a V in there. The grease actually goes in through a hole there and fills up this V all the way around here, and seals the shaft where it comes out of the box. So that's rather clever. Now that we've got these gates disconnected, we can see in here a lot better how they work. This is the seed roller up here. This funnels seed into that cup that takes it back to the seeder bar. Now if we open the gates up, we get a much bigger gap around the seed roller for the seed to drop through, so we're going to get a much higher rate of seed. We can also see, if we look at this seed roller here, all the pegs around here have been mutilated by a rock or something at some point. They should have square pegs all the way across, and as soon as you start losing them, this is probably one of the ones that wasn't giving me the right seeding rate. If we look up at this one here, they're all sort of rounded off, so that one's not going to be metering as accurately as it once did. So yeah, all of these need to be replaced. Now to get all of this mechanism under here out, they're mounted on the, well, this shaft here is mounted on these hinges here, and the shaft with the rollers on has a bearing up here. Now this goes through into the grain tank, and there's a little clip in the grain tank that holds these on. Okay, so if we climb into the grain bin here, we can see the metering rollers here. Now because I'm only using a narrow bar on it, I've got some of them blanked off, so we're not using all of them. But you can see up the end here, there's a piece of tin plate. This is blanking off the end roller. Now for some reason, even with the big full 40-foot bar, they still weren't using the end rollers on this one. So when we take this apart, we're going to permanently blank off this roller because we're never going to use it. We are going to temporarily blank off these ones here. We're just going to put a plate over them and leave the rollers out. But we're going to make it so that we can easily refit the rollers when I get a bigger tractor, and can pull a bigger bar. Now to drop the shaft out, if we look under here, there's this little triangle clip. I'm just going to whip this rubber strip off quickly first, and that'll make it a bit easier to see in here. Okay, so we've got this triangle clip here. This plastic bit sticking through is part of that bearing block that holds the roller shaft. So all we need to do is twist this little clip around and simply wriggle it out. I might need a pair of pliers to get this out, I think. But yeah, it's that easy. There's a whole bundle of them all along here. We just take that out, then this bearing block here pops through out the other side, and we can drop that shaft out. Okay, we're back underneath again now. Now that we've knocked out those pins, you can see that all of this shaft is just hanging loose. Hopefully we can fiddle around and slide it out this end. It is supposed to come out the far end, but I am hoping that I can bring it out this side instead. Okay, so we've got the shafts and all the shafts out, or all the seed shafts out now. The fertiliser shafts are still up there. So we can see we need new rollers all the way along. Some of these bearings are quite worn. You can see how loose they are. Some are quite tight, some are quite loose. This will allow the roller to move in and out and up and down as it turns, and will change your seeding rate as it goes. So we're going to replace all of them. These hinge joints, we've got a couple of broken ones of them that we're going to need to replace. All these rubber cups are well and truly past their use by date. You can see the rats have had a go at this one, but they are, because they're so worn, they will also be affecting the seeding rate. Now, unfortunately, the fertiliser gets in underneath and gets trapped in these rubbers, and it corrodes the shaft really, really badly. So I don't need to put one back on here because this is the end roller that we're going to delete. These shafts are available, but they're $250 each, and I can't really justify a new shaft. Well, 4 new shafts this year. So we're going to clean these shafts up, and we'll hopefully be able to end up reusing them. So I've got to go away now and make a list of all the bits I need. All of these parts are luckily available here in Western Australia. I thought they might be a little bit harder to get than that. Yeah, I'm going to go away, make a list now. And we'll get all the parts, and we've got to finish working out what we're going to do with the rust next. That'll probably be next week's project. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.